Greetings, Sanbonani, Dumelange, Abshini. Hello out there once again. It's your boy Akay back again with another episode of seeking practical solutions for practical societal issues that exist within our communities. We are still on that path of raising awareness for social challenges that are facing members of members of society are facing on their daily basis, of life. And on this episode, I'm actually being joined by an old varsity friend, and her name is Tsolofelo, but I'll actually let her do the formal introductions. But before I actually do that, let me just remind our followers and subscribers out there and our new viewers to actually hit that like button on Spotify and on YouTube, and please don't also forget to share with your friends and family, because your like actually helps us grow, as we are still on this path of addressing social issues, like we are actually trying to build a community of practical problem solvers in society. So on this episode, we'll actually be talking about porn addiction. But before I do that, let me give the platform to Ms. Tsolofelo to do the introduction. Hey, Tsolo.
Hi.
How's it?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm good. Mm-hmm. So let me just give you the platform for the real talkers to get to know who you are, what you're doing, where you're from.
Okay, so my name is Tsolofelo Mulukelwa. I am a second-year master's student in philosophy at UJ. Yeah. I work as a tutor, and I also work as a translator at UJ. And I'm originally from Springs, East Rand. Yeah.
East and West are colliding. But it's great to have you on the show, Yeah. I'm definitely sure even the real talkers, as they are watching out there, they are actually pleased to have you here, Welcome.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting episode, since the topic,
it's quite a touchy one.
Yeah, it's quite a touchy one, So let me just quickly remind the real talkers out there that they should actually go and check out our official Patreon Real Talkers community. That's our official community on Patreon. It's a community of practical problem solvers. That's where different people from different paths of life come together to come and help us find solutions for all the things we are talking about on our podcast, So you can just go and check out patreon.com/realtalkwithak. You'll even get the podcast mesh there, everything in there. Go get yourself checked up.
Oh, there's also merchandise. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'll definitely check it out.
Dope. So let's jump into today's business, like porn addiction.
Okay.
Porn addiction, at the moment in society, there's this thing I've been witnessing. It's more like a trend, where you find our elders, even young people, just watching porn in public, in public spaces, There was this other time I was in a bank, and then, Wi-Fi go bank.
It's the strongest.
Yeah, it's the strongest. I'm just chilling. And
so he was literally streaming porn.
Yeah, and it got me thinking, and I'm like, if people can actually do such things, it means we actually have a problem in society, and we are not aware of that.
Yeah,
in most cases.
I also feel that's the case.
So let me just kick off the show by asking you what is porn addiction from your own understanding? When the term porn addiction is said, what pops up to your mind?
Okay. Well, in my head, whenever the term porn addiction, comes up, I think porn addiction is basically that persistent urge to watch either pornographic material or basically sex videos in order to get some form of sexual gratification. And in my case, or with what I've come to realize, I feel like there are two kinds of porn addicts, right?
This is new.
I feel like there are those people that have gotten to the point where they feel even to get sexual desire or an erection. They have to watch porn in order to be able to get an erection so that they can have sex with their partner, and then they get to that point or ejaculation.
Yeah.
And then they are like, people that, okay, well, they do, like, they can get an erection, like, with, their partner and shit like that.
Yeah.
But then in most cases, I feel like they feel uguti, the best satisfaction, or like the best sexual satisfaction rather, comes from when they are doing themselves or masturbating. So basically they could sleep with the person, but they never really get to the point of like, climaxing or whatever, because they have this thing uguti, it's
more
better
like,
when I do me.
this movie, it's addiction, and if I'm not mistaken, addiction or addicted, where like the lady's married, but like the guy is not satisfying her perfectly,
Yeah.
So whenever they have sex, what happens is that after the guy comes, the woman just goes and watches porn and starts masturbating by herself, and then she comes. So like, those are some of the things like I actually want to ask about, since we are still on that part.
Okay.
So like, what's the role of porn when it comes to relationships? Like, what kind of effect does it have?
Like in a relationship?
Yeah, between like two partners or couples.
I feel like it also depends because I feel like most people with like, porn addiction, I feel like there are a lot of like, deep-rooted emotional issues that are there, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like in some cases, porn in a relationship can be good, but it can also be bad. So in cases where like you have an open relationship,
Good how,
I'm trying to get there. I feel like in the case where like you are in a relationship with like a partner that you feel comfortable with, you are actually like, able to like, watch it together and, like try out different things together, so that the relationship or like, the sex aspect of the relationship is actually like more exciting. So I feel like that's like the good side of it. But then the bad side of it is when like you literally start thinking that everything that happens in porn should happen in reality, because we sometimes kind of forget that like porn, the people that we see in porn, most of them are actually just actors, so it doesn't necessarily mean that everything we see in porn will actually like be, I don't know, like
but
good
that's
for
the
us.
case. That's the case with society, because like at the moment I feel like it has actually created like there's unrealistic standards when it comes to sex, There are a lot of expectations, There are a lot of expectations these days, So like, I just want to find out, as you mentioned, like porn is actually like there's the good and bad, So like, when it comes to society in general, do you think like is that something that members of society actually think it's a real thing, or
porn addiction?
Yeah, it's just a myth.
I feel like in some cases, yes, people are in denial of the fact that, like they have like an addiction to porn, because I feel like now I'm Zizo as a person that, what, I feel like I've been doing this too much. Like there's a part of you that tells you that, okay, this is where you need to stop. So I feel like in some cases people are actually in denial of that fact. And like it's not that like people don't know that it's a real thing, because I think that it actually is a real thing, and it's ruining like, relationships, or like, having like actual sexual relationships with humans, and also like having a sexual relationship with yourself, because I feel like, okay, but then that's that book still gonna get there. So I'm saying that in most cases people are aware of the fact that porn addiction is there and they're experiencing it, but it's just like, people being in denial. And I feel like in most cases, I don't know if you're aware of the whole thing of like the whole NoFap community. You normally find them on Facebook, on YouTube, where like all of those people are practicing abstinence, because they feel that they've gotten to the point where they actually understand that they have an addiction and they're trying to heal from that. In most cases, in those communities, you find that it's mostly guys that are there. And that actually sometimes gives off the impression that women don't also suffer from that, And I feel like in as much as, okay, it's fine, women may be suffering from that, I feel like, society also has like a role to play in like, suppressing the truth from women, because the minute women like, put themselves in a position of saying that I'm a sexual being, yes, I enjoy sex and all of that stuff, we get like called a lot of names. So imagine coming out with something like, yo, I'm addicted to porn and I do myself. Then, it becomes one of those things like, so yeah, I feel like those are just like, some of the problems that we're having.
Yeah. So while we are still on it, like,
Okay.
yeah, the relationship and couples,
Yeah.
there's this trend, like, whereby, like, you find that maybe one of the partners in a relationship actually watches porn, maybe secretly watches porn.
Yeah.
What do you think causes, like, the other partner when they found that, like, to get angry sometimes, because that's usually the situation,
Yeah.
We know people who have divorced because of such things,
I feel like in cases like that, it's the kind of porn you were watching that actually, like, it like,
But
I don't
porn
know.
is porn.
No, I feel like porn is a spectrum.
Yes.
At the beginning of the spectrum, there's the shit we all know and love, shit that we're familiar to, the basics,
Yeah.
At the middle of the spectrum, we have the kind of shit that, there's still the shit that we like, but then there's also like, that introduction to new shit that, but then we're like, okay, I could go along with this.
Yeah.
And then on the far end, that's where all the bad shit, crazy stuff lives. That's where your incest porn is. That's where your necrophilia is. Well, for people that don't know what necrophilia is, it's like the attraction to dead bodies. So sleeping with corpses and shit like that. Porn gets deep, guys. Like, it is it is dark. There's a light side of it, and then there's also a fucking dark side of it.
Are you kidding?
I kid you not.
So there are people who...
You see all of those things that you see there by Pornhub, the stepmothers being stuck in the machine and whatnot. That's just surface level shit. It gets weirder the deeper you go.
Yeah, I've always known that, there are people who like... Because the only other form of porn I know is the Sonia bestiality, like women actually having sex with animals, and with horses usually,
Oh, fucking horse. Jesus fucking Christ, no. But they are, like, when you go to a horse, there's no coming back. Like, how do you even get to that point of no return? But then the point is not to judge. Because I feel like there's a lot of stigma when it comes to like porn addiction, and that's what I'm trying to do. To like not really like shame people for the things that they're into, because I feel like
we are not here to judge.
Yeah, definitely.
We're just here to help you, to make you aware or realize that you are addicted to porn.
Definitely.
Because
what we are here for.
There's actually people who can't sleep without jacking off, maybe like I have to watch porn before I go to sleep. It's a habit that thing occurs. And like with today's society, with everything that's happening, like I even feel like we have normalized it, It's no longer like before. There's like back then when we were growing up, Abu ETB used to play porn.
Emmanuel.
Abu Emmanuel, Abu Mandingo and everything that. And
guys.
And like, do you remember how sneaky we were during those times?
And then, like, see, that's another thing. Like, I feel like in most cases, people that suffer from porn addiction, that when they're like a bit older, they have a history of being exposed to that shit way too soon as kids, and also in like another thing that affects us like mostly as black people is that we don't often talk about sex, even like from like in our families. Like sex is something that we don't talk about at all. Manje. So it's, and I feel Gucci, that's also like part of the reason why when people find themselves in a position like, no, actually kids, like when a child finds themselves in a position where they were raped or molested, they don't talk about these things because sex is like it's a taboo like in our culture. So I feel like porn addiction comes in where you are at a time in your life where you're trying to really understand what sex is, and because you are not told at home what it is, you start picking up whatever ideas that pornography is like showing you. So it's rooted to a lot of emotional shit as well. And also, did you know that there's literally a theory in psychology that says Uguti, I think it's called the attachment theory. It says Uguti, the attachment theory.
Yeah.
It says Uguti, the how your parents actually raised you, your mom and your dad. Not only does it affect the kinds of relationships that you're gonna get into as an adult, but it also affects the kind of sex that you're into. So that's why I'm saying that porn addiction has emotional shit anchored onto it. So that's why I don't want to shame, because in order for you to understand why you're into it, you have to actually like go through all the emotional and psychological shit that actually put you into that position.
Because like as we're busy with research and everything, like I even saw like there's this sex submissiveness, there are
BDSM,
men,
stuff like that.
there are men who actually prefer ukuthi bachamelwe.
Oh yeah.
Hey, for me that's weird, but I'm not judging anyone who's doing it. I'm just saying, like, for something that's so simple, why do we go to all this trouble?
That's the complexity of it, like porn addiction. It's not just you being like a weak person and like, oh no, you're weak, you can't control. And that's another thing that I hate about these no-fab communities. Whenever I get it, like those communities are a place where like people who suffer from porn addiction come together and they actually like try to help each other with this is how like I keep myself from relapsing and stuff like that. I feel like in cases where like where like a person maybe has relapsed or something, they actually get shamed for it, like they get shamed a lot and shit like that. So it's like unlearning all of that shit. It's a process. That's what people don't really understand, that if you are addicted to pornography, it's a process that you have to go through. It's a psychological process. It's an emotional process as well. You can't just focus on the physical aspect of it and say, oh, I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to start reading more books, or I'm going to do this, that, and the third. Like, you will always keep relapsing if you don't take care of those first two fundamentals, the psychological and the emotional.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. And while we are still on the psychological point of it and emotional point of it, like, I just want to find out from you, Uguti, like, how has porn actually influenced or affected like young minds in society today? How is it influencing their love lives, the relationships that they are having? Intersections so on allow,
I feel like, then again, I'm gonna have to say that again, like porn has a good aspect and a negative aspect to it. I feel like in terms of like the good aspects of it, I feel like it has done like some good work, particularly for the LGBTI community, because I've actually like seen some videos of transgender people actually having sex, and it was I don't want to say disturbing, because no, it wasn't disturbing, but it was different. I've never seen something like that before. But yeah, it's just like I saw a man with a vagina. No, I saw a man with a vagina and he was sleeping with another man, and in my head,
and in today's society, it's happening a lot.
But all I'm saying is, if it's getting to that point where like gay people and like the entire LGBTI community have been in a position where they were not allowed to be their sexual selves. So I feel like that's the good aspect of it. But then there's also like the toxic aspect of sex, because I feel like there are a lot of like underlying things that we pick up or like things we actually pick up subconsciously.
Wild fantasies,
Exactly. I mean, like most of the porn videos that are out there, I don't care which site you go on, 90% of them, it's mostly just people having unprotected sex. And it's actually like being normalized throughout the whole thing that no, this is what it should be.
These days we even invented terms such as a pull-out game.
Pulacking. I mean, okay, fine, yes, it might prevent a pregnancy, but you're still being exposed to a whole lot of shit,
Yeah,
so I feel like that's one negative aspect of it. And I feel like, okay, the whole thing, you said something about intersections and situationships and stuff like that. Hey, that's a touchy one, hey, because I don't want to come across as if I am like judging people or whatever, but I feel like in instances like that, or like in instances where like you find yourself having like multiple sex partners, and I don't know, like it should get to a point where, I don't know, maybe it should feel wrong for you, because like if you are in a like a situation like that, like with multiple people, and mostly like most of them, if not all, you're not using protection with them, then there's that part of you as a human being that should kick in, like that sense of self-preservation that says, okay, I know sex is nice, but okay, I don't have to be like, I don't have to, So I feel like there's limits to it. In as much as, yes, I'm all for, I am pro-choice, guys. If it makes you happy, do you, fam.
Go
to
for
each
it.
his own. But all I'm saying is, you do not have to put yourself in a position of harm so that you are happy and that you are fulfilled or whatever. So that's like a balance in a sense, So yeah.
So like, how do we get like members of society to actually start realizing this whole thing of there's just as much as Yabona is being given attention and everything. How do we get members of society to actually like start playing a role in like raising awareness about this thing? Because I actually feel like it has also contributed to like the high rate of rape cases in this country.
Also human trafficking. It actually like plays the point. Have you ever realized, I don't know if you've ever checked out those videos of like ex-porn stars? It's so weird how and that's why I'm saying that the porn industry, it's good and bad in a sense, right? So in the bad sense of it, I feel like the porn industry actually capitalizes on the pain that people feel in a sense. Because most of those people, like those ex-porn stars, most of them have a history of sexual abuse, like either rape, molestation, and all of that stuff. So, in as much as it capitalizes on the actors, it also capitalizes on, like, societal members, like, people of society. Because, like I said, there are reasons why you are addicted to porn. There are reasons, like valid reasons. And
that's true.
I feel like it's only going to get to a point where, like, people are going to start realizing that, this isn't fulfilling. Because I feel like that's how I actually like got out of that. I had to like admit.
I highly doubt that with like with such platforms, not glass about TikTok. Like these days there are even challenges. Like what's the sex poses, lingerie challenges. With TikTok. There was, I think, early last year. There was a challenge on TikTok. The red flitter where like women will just be naked and then like poof, and then it's lingerie and
like your silhouette challenge. All of those things. Okay,
You see, like that's the kind of effect it's currently it's having on society at the moment. So like, I just want to find out from you, because they are porn addicts, and they are like sex addicts. What's the difference between those two things?
I feel like there's a very thin line. It's it's there, but it's very small. Because like I said, most people that find themselves like addicted to like sex, most of them actually like do watch porn. So I feel like there's just like only a very thin line. It's just that the only difference is that if maybe you're just really like addicted to porn, most of the time you find yourself that you actually prefer masturbating instead of like having actual sex with a person. So I feel like the only difference between a sex addict and a porn addict is that both like the same thing, but then the other one is safer because in most cases they don't really like get to have multiple relationships and like unprotected relations.
Well, we are still on that point. What's this? You just mentioned it right now, no?
Yeah.
Like the other part being safe, like porn and
Yeah.
everything. You know, like recently I've been seeing this post, you know, on social media, you know, like talking about masturbation and everything, you know. Apparently they say that masturbation invites evil spirits. Do you actually
heard
believe
that.
that it does?
Evil spirits, I don't really know. I can't attest to that, you know. But what I can say is, in most cases, what people don't really understand is that when you watch porn, I mean, like, you're literally, like, you know, having like that consistent dose of, like, you know, dopamine and serotonin, like, in your brain. And it's like literally whenever, like, you watch porn, it has to escalate, because the porn that you started with, it doesn't really excite you anymore, so you need to go higher and higher and higher. And as you do that, it's like some sort of like a chemical imbalance in your brain, and it manifests itself into, like, you know, physical things. For instance, most people that actually are addicted to porn suffer from, you know, like, you know, fatigue most of the time, loss of concentration, like, and all of those things. So I feel like, in a sense, those things actually manifest themselves into, like, you know, physical symptoms, and it may give off like the impression that, oh, evil spirits and whatnot and whatnot. But literally, you just fucked your brain up. That's what it is. You fucked with the chemical balancing of your brain, and there is a way to fix it. I'm not saying that all is hopeless, but that's what it is. I'm not really sure about the evil aspect of it. I really
it's
can't
something
attest
like
to
I've
that.
been seeing like on social media, and
Yeah.
the other day someone was like, yo, when you are doing that, you're actually having sex with a demon, you know. So I was there like, every day we hear something new, you know.
But I think, like, that's just basically his way of, like, explaining something, like, that's, you know, that's there, you know, because we might not, like, explain something in the same ways, but in most cases we're explaining the very same thing. So yeah.
So like you mentioned something about the emotional side of the emotional effects of porn. So for the real talkers, I'm definitely sure right now at the moment they are wondering, how. So there's also like emotional effects to this thing. So could you just give us clarity on that one, or just give us like an example, you know, of like the emotional effect it has on an individual?
Okay. Well, I can't really speak for a lot of people, because I'm just basically talking from my experience and not other people's experience per se. But what I've realized is that I'm actually, like, well, I used to be the second kind of porn addict, the one who have, you know.
I think we've all been at some point, you know. It's just that for some people it's hard to admit.
Yeah, definitely, true. But then I feel like I was like the kind of person that would, like, you know, have sexual relations, but then I didn't really find them satisfying at all, you know. I would not, like, get the same pleasure, so, like, you know, I was, and I don't know, like, it kind of made relationships, in a sense, I don't know, meaningless, because, okay, yes, I know that there are other aspects that I can get from a person, like the emotional side and, you know, and all of that stuff, but then for me it was like, okay, well, actually I still feel like it is. I feel like it's just like one of those things where, like, back then I wouldn't even compromise if I found that I could like you as a person. We could have amazing conversations and have like the best emotional connection. But then it's shy. I can't, because, like, you don't get me there, you know. So I found myself in a space where I would, like, you know, leave a lot of, like, you know, relationships that could have been good for me, but because I was, like, you know, prioritizing that, in a sense, it kind of clouded my judgment, in a sense. But then I also feel, Uguti, it's important for, like, you know, all your needs to be met in a relationship, because you know, that actually matters, like your sexual well-being, or, like, you know, your happiness, like, when it comes to your sex life, it actually does matter. You know, it's a very important aspect of a relationship. So I feel like that's how it actually kind of set me back, in a sense.
I hear you. I hear you. So like we'll just take like a short break, and then we'll come back, and when we come back we'll actually take a look at this new culture that's there, and I don't know if it's art or porn. You know, this OnlyFans culture icona these days, you know,
Okay.
like those are some of the things that we'll actually talk about. But apart from that, let's just take a quick break and then we'll be back after it. But for our viewers out there, just don't forget to click that subscribe button down there. And for our followers and listeners on Spotify or all these podcasting platforms, just hit that follow button and leave us a review of what you think about everything that has been said about porn addiction on this episode. You know, we'd like to hear from you, Ubuti. Like, how do you think porn is actually affecting us as members of society? The role it's playing in society. Those are some of the things we'll actually be diving in after the break. But apart from that, we'll be back after this break. Thank you. And we are back again, guys, from our short break, hey, and we are still on that path of seeking practical solutions for practical societal challenges that exist within our communities, hey. And just don't forget to go and check out our official community on Patreon, hey. That's the official communities of real talkers, practical problem solvers, you know. That's where, like, as I said earlier on, different people from different paths of life come together. I'm talking about business people, NPOs, people who actually want to be part of finding solutions for every challenge that we are facing.
Like, you know, the political aspect of things. Yeah, actually, I think that's a very good idea, because I think there's so many like young people out there that actually like they see everything that's happening and they actually want to make a change, but because of how fucked up politics are, like with all the deception and shit like that, so you feel like, you know, deflated. So I feel like platforms like that are actually very helpful, you know, for us young people, because if we don't fix these problems, who are actually going to fix them? Because you can't trust all that, guys, at the end of the day.
You know, it's something I always say, but they keep on saying we are the future. The future is now. Our country is in shambles.
Yeah.
So we need these platforms, and it's one of the reasons this podcast exists. You know?
Yeah.
Like when I started it, I just wanted a platform to actually, where like we could actually just come together as millennials, you know, Gen Zs, my generation, and try to find like solutions, because I actually believe that out there right now, there's someone who actually has a solution to a problem we're talking about here. And it's just a matter of us linking up and uniting.
That's all.
You know? Like we are talking about the support area on at our hoods. But that's another episode on its own. Yeah. So let's get back
Might
to that.
have to come back on the podcast for that one.
Yeah, definitely, most definitely. You know, so just don't forget to visit patreon.com. That's where you'll get everything, you know. It's 3 different tiers, you know. We have the Real Talkers community. That's the basic level for anyone who just wants to be part of the family.
Okay.
You know? So when you join these communities, that's where you get like early access to events that we host on the podcast, like invitations to charity events. And oh, by the way, we are actually hosting awards. We have actually launched an awards program called the Game Changers and Dreamers Awards.
Okay.
They aim to give recognition to local businesses, talent that's there in our communities. So, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Let me fix that.
That way. It's China.
Okay.
I couldn't bring that switch.
It's okay.
No,
I feel like we need something like a bit more solid.
Let's just close it for now.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
We don't need it anyway. Yeah.
So as I was saying that just visit Patreon, realtalkwithak.com, you know. That's where you'll find everything from discount on merchandises, invitations to our charity events that we have, our programs. There's a lot happening. Just go and visit Patreon. And also don't forget to go and check out our social media pages. You know, at Twitter it's at the People's Podcast. You can use the hashtag #RealTalkWithAK to engage with us on the topics that we are talking about in the podcast. You know, but apart from that, Ms. Sulufen, let's get back to the topic. So as we are talking about porn addiction, how it's affecting us as members of society at the moment. I want us to actually take a look at like the role it has in society, like, what's the role of porn in today's society? Do you think it's still serving the purpose it was meant to serve?
I feel like,
'Cause
I don't know, like I think we've gotten to a point that, like, when it comes to porn, like, we've actually, I don't know, like I said, like, there's like, you know, the light side of the spectrum, and then there's also like the dark and the twisted side of it.
Yeah.
So I feel like on whether or not it has, like, you know, or like, you know, whether or not it still like serves its purpose in society, I'm not really sure, like, based on like the disturbing things that I've seen.
Really,
And also, like, I feel like it's also a problem because, like I said, it's like we're basically creating, like, you know, generations of more, like, you know, like porn addicts, because when you come to think of it now, like, access to porn is something that is so easy, even for a child. So I feel like it's gonna be a problem, and also, like, you know, with the effects that it has in terms of, like, you know, setting unrealistic standards for both women and men. So we're just like basically creating a generation, or like more generations of like sexually insecure people, basically.
That's true. That's true. So, like, right now we're killing everything. We are moving now. I want us to get to the part. OnlyFans.
Okay.
Like, this thing, like, I don't know, like, Uguti, is it a porn site? Is it art, or is it prostitution or something? Because right now at the moment, that's where, like, the new generation of porn stars, they are going to monetize their content and everything, you know.
Well, I could say that, well, I'm not sure if it's like literally like prostitution, because even, like, you know, the conversation that we heard earlier about Colin Fega, like she literally started off as, like, you know, basically putting up content or like her videos on OnlyFans, and it started just like that, and then it actually moved to the side where, like, she was, like, you know, literally posting, like, you know, porn videos, because I think it actually, like, I don't know, it escalated in that sense. I don't think, like, she started off as, like, you know, making, like, you know, explicit, like, you know, pornographic material.
There's people on Twitter who even sell porn clips, you know, they are making a living out of this
actually,
thing.
I also recently found out that there's actually a lot of porn on Twitter, like a
Just
lot.
found out now.
Dang, yeah. Thing is, I only started having Twitter, like, you know, like not so long ago. So, yeah, it's a lot. It really is a lot. So I feel like, okay, well, OnlyFans can be good in the sense of if you wanna, like, you know, put yourself in a position where, like, you're literally monetizing off of that, and hey, man, do you? If it's what you want, if you're sure that you're capable of doing it, then do you? But just just like just okay, in a sense, you could do it if you want to, but I feel like you should also, like, be in a position where, like, you're literally, like, you know, setting boundaries and limits for yourself, because I feel like things can actually, like, escalate, like, quickly in a sense, because I feel like even with say maybe I decide to, like, put up content on OnlyFans, right? I don't know, like, even for us as women, I feel like that's maybe another reason why as women don't really I don't know, like, they're still very, like, you know, like, closeted in a sense of they're not, like, you know, fully expressionate sexual beings, is because if I put myself in a position like that, some men have this sense of entitlement to a sense of if I'm putting my content out there, they feel they need to, like, you know, I don't know, like, they basically see me as an object. Like, I have a friend, she's actually not from here, but she's, like, you know, one of those friends that you make over the internet.
Yeah.
And she has an OnlyFans page. She's actually American. And she says that her only problem with how it is that she mostly, like, gets insulted by men and they literally like they're so entitled to a sense of booty. They feel they need to like talk to her anyhow, order her around and shit like that. So that's what is the only problem for her. But then she says that she's actually fine with putting out content out there because it actually gives her good money. So I feel like that's the only roadblock that we might be having with the OnlyFans
do you
thing.
think people who are actually involved in OnlyFans, putting up content on OnlyFans, actually have long-term relationships, long-term partners?
That I do not know. That I have no idea.
Let me just put it like this: will you date someone who's an OnlyFans content creator?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. Maybe it would depend on the person and maybe the kind of relationship that we have. But then for now, I don't want to be very definitive with my answer, because one thing that I've learned with life is that at one point we were all we won't smoke weed or whatever, but we actually found ourselves doing that. So I don't know at the point at the current moment. I really don't know.
Okay, I hear.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, because even on Twitter there's this chick with some gay, she's an OnlyFans creator and she has a boyfriend. So those are some of the things when I sit down, when I'm alone, I'm thinking, I'm like, so does it mean that porn actors actually have they are married, some of them?
Actually a lot.
Hey.
A lot are actually married. And so they seem fine in their relationships. The partners seem very understanding. So I don't know how they make it work, because I think it takes some level of emotional intelligence to not feel fucked with, literally seeing your wife or your husband
exactly
in that.
Some of these people even have kids,
Yeah.
And so when I'm sitting, it gets me thinking, how does the kid cope with this thing at school? Or
that's another thing on its own. That's also another thing, because most people don't really think of how it actually affects the child in a sense. I mean, you just imagine how that's kids are cruel in general. Kids will fucking rip on you and not give a shit. So
us,
if they know that your mom actually has an OnlyFans account or your dad has an OnlyFans account, then you're basically dead. All your primary school years, high school years, basically fucked.
That's true.
So I don't know.
I think this is gonna be the last question that's gonna come from me before we actually wrap up our episode.
Yeah.
So I want us while we are still talking about OnlyFans and the monetization part of porn, then this issue actually legalize the porn industry, because at the moment they are actually losing, because OnlyFans is a platform that was created
it's not ours.
It's not ours. So do you think that this issue actually legalize this thing, and how it is going to benefit us?
Well, actually, seeing that, it's possible to monetize off of platforms like that. I feel if I mean, I'm pretty sure there are so many people out there that feel that they could actually make solid money out of this. I feel it would be a good thing for them to actually put themselves in a position to monetize off with something like that. So I feel it really should, because at this point we're literally losing money in a sense. So it really should be.
That's true. Because me too, I definitely, because when you think of it, the porn industry in a year actually makes close to
billions, bro, billions. And then you're telling me that there are no people that watch porn out there.
People are just in denial, That's what I'm but with this new generation, will tell you straight watch porn.
Life.
Yeah. Make 16 with these kids,
Yeah.
So for us, because of how we grew up and the stereotypes that we're surrounded.
Think twice, bruh, if your neighbors see that shit, yo.
So before we actually wrap up, I'll actually give you the chance to actually just it like a summary and touch on anything you feel like we didn't touch on during our conversation. Just like a short summary, like a wrap-up statement with regards to porn addiction.
Yeah.
And everything else that we spoke about.
I feel like what people should essentially take away from our conversation today is that you don't have to feel shameful of being addicted to porn. All of that guilt and that shame, it's literally what's stopping you from understanding all of those deep-rooted issues that are actually keeping you in that position of being addicted to porn. So I feel like the biggest thing that you could ever do for yourself is to get out of the shame and the guilt first. It doesn't matter what kind of porn you're into. It is immaterial. But I feel like that's the first step. That's where shit actually starts changing. So yeah.
I even learned new terms today. There were some other forms of porn.
Necrophilia.
Even the real talkers for sure, they're like, hey, which one is this one?
Or if they want to be traumatized, by all means, you could go watch it.
Yeah. So, and I forgot to ask, you actually touched on a few of these things, the types of material that's out there.
Yeah.
Let me just ask that before we actually sign out.
I feel like I'm gonna hate this question, but okay.
Just leaving behind some examples of the different kinds of pornographic material that's there. As you mentioned, I can't even pronounce the term. I'm still gonna sit down and learn how to pronounce it properly. So what would you say are the forms of porn that are out there?
Oh, okay. Well, apart from the normal categories that we know, stepmom and stepson, I feel okay. Well, that's basically incest. Having relations with people in the family. Doesn't matter whether it's the uncle, the brother, the mother. It doesn't matter. That's incest. And then fine. I mentioned necrophilia. And also there is the whole thing BDSM, the whole thing about submission and dominance and all of that stuff. And then there's also hentai, guys. There's also hentai, which is essentially Japanese cartoon porn. That's literally what it is. And then there's also I don't know what it's called, but it's animated, but the creatures that are there, bruh, it's some weird alien shit with tentacles and shit. So I don't know what they call that one specifically, but there is just so much. There is a lot.
But I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah.
It's been an honor having you on the platform.
Oh no, thank you for having me. I feel like I've actually always wanted to talk about this, and I feel like that's why I actually jumped at the opportunity when you put it up on Facebook. I was like, I'm there, I feel like
gonna do more episodes. This is a community platform. You don't have to wait for an invite from me or my team. Whenever you feel like you have a social issue that you need members of society to start paying attention to, just hit us up. We'll be there. Even the real talkers by now, I think they are aware of that. But apart from that, thank you so much for being on our platform.
No, thank you for having me.
I think even our real talkers are glad up there. And to our new viewers who are actually watching this episode for the first time, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button once again and that follow button on Spotify and YouTube. But apart from that, it's been an interesting conversation. Such conversations I know we live for them, love them. But apart from that, Kalerado, we are out. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. It wasn't even that free.